Introducing In Kent with Abby McCarthy, and it is my pleasure to welcome to the show Woody. Hiya mate, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, really good, thank you. Amazing to have you on the show. Obviously everyone will know you for doing bits on the drums for Bastille, but you do so much more. You've been out and about DJing as well, which we'll get to in a bit, but an amazing producer as well. And I know you worked on the Charlotte Plank song that we just played.
Yes, so Lost Boys was the first one that me and myself, Matt Wills, who's my sort of partner in crime as far as production and songwriting goes, he's the kind of evil genius who I try and steer in the right direction occasionally. And yes, it's Lost Boys was the first song that we did with Charlotte, which was only, God, back in February, so it's gone quite quick. But yeah, she's just smashing it at the minute. And yeah, so Lost Boys came out like this week, and it seems to have picked up a ton of playlists, which is brilliant. It's what everyone wants. Radio 1, thankfully, are being supportive as well. So hopefully, big things ahead for Charlotte.
Oh, we think so. We're such big fans of her on the show. I love that she's such a blend of things. There's kind of like a bit of grunge in there, isn't there? But then there's like jungle, there's D&B, there's pop. She's just out here doing her own thing.
I think that's kind of reflective of like music in general at the minute. So, I mean, kids growing up these days obviously have access to like Spotify and YouTube or whatever. Whereas back in my day, cough cough, you had to pay £12–15 for a CD. So it was like, well, you had to be really sure about what thing that you were going to listen to, and then once you bought it, you're stuck with it. So you're going to play it to death. Whereas kids nowadays can just genre hop to go from death metal to Britney Spears to reggae to whatever. So yeah, people turn up with all these kind of mad little influences, which I mean I think it's really healthy, and it's also I think it's quite democratizing as well for music, because it's a lot harder for labels to manipulate like charts and releases, that sort of stuff. It's like if people like it, they're going to listen to it, and you can't make them otherwise.
And talking of CDs, one that I absolutely rinsed was Bastille's debut album, Bad Blood. Oh. Your baby, it turns 10 next year. I mean, don't they grow up fast?
Yeah, don't they just? I mean, that album changed our lives in so many ways. I mean, because we were back then, we were very much unknown little indie band, and even our label at the time didn't really think it was going to do that well until the Midwich came out and were number one. It's like they're like, maybe we should pay for some billboards and get some stuff out there, like pretty much out of nowhere. And also, what was quite satisfying was like we've been kind of panned by quite a few sort of journalists and stuff coming up. So that was like a nice sort of two fingers to that mob as well. But yeah, people are stuck with us. God, yeah, that album took us around the world, which was quite satisfying when we were playing. So we were rehearsing in this, I wouldn't even call it a rehearsal studio, like just a room in South Croydon, where at one point it flooded. So we had to basically kind of get a little dinghy almost to get from the corridor, like down the corridor to our room. It was just like, and there were slugs crawling over our gear. It was, yeah, we definitely paid our dues. It was not all glamour at the start. So now we can afford a dry, safe rehearsal space.
Yay!
Also generally slug free as well, which is great.
And a lot of people are going to be getting tickets for that big tour that is happening next year to celebrate that album. I bet you and the boys can't wait, because like you say, it was hard graft at the start. That album has become, you know, a landmark album in UK music and totally changed your lives, and you're going to get to, you know, play those songs again and really reconnect with your fans. I'm sure all the early fans will be there as well.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, well, and also, yeah, thank you for the reminder. So, I should plug the tour, shouldn't I? So it's the Bad Blood X tour is next summer. We're doing a load of castles and outdoor venues and even a race course. But yeah, I think tickets for London show are super low now already. So if you're thinking about it, I would go sooner than later. But yeah, also it's going to be funny. So we're like already chatting like on the WhatsApp groups about we haven't played some of these songs in 8 years.
Wow.
So, like, does anyone remember the buttons and how it goes?
Yeah, anyone help?
It's really bad when you have to kind of go on YouTube and find yourself from like past festivals. Like, oh, was it? Oh, that's what I did there. Right. That's how it goes.
But it's all going to be fun. It's going to be great. Outside of playing live for Bastille, you've been DJing out and about recently. I saw a picture of you, and you've just got this big smoke gun thing. I was like, yes, Woody. So bangers and all the pyro you can get your hands on. Is that what people can expect from you behind the decks?
I don't know whose bad idea that was to give us that gun, but I mean, so it was basically like a massive CO2 cannon. Yeah, don't give the drummer pyro to play with. It's a really bad idea. So yeah, when we're out DJing as Bastille, it's normally me and Kyle, And Kyle, I think, well, did half that gig blind because he was just getting smoked out by me constantly on every transition. But, you know, got to give him a show. And yeah, obviously we are just really frustrated big EDM DJs. We see people like Dylan Francis and stuff with all the pyro in the world. That's what we want, just CO2 jets for days. But no, I mean, yeah, the DJing thing's really fun. We are, well, me and Kyle especially, we're just really bad at doing nothing. So if you're off tour, some people like to relax or go to the pub, but I like to be doing stuff, so we'd always rather be working. And yeah, DJing's great. But also, it's good just to kind of see, as a songwriter as well, what sort of tunes actually connect these days, because there's certain songs that I span in my early days of DJing where I thought this is going to be absolutely go off, guaranteed, and it's just a complete tumbleweed moment. It's like, okay, that's interesting. So yeah, it's really helpful just to kind of keep an eye on trends and what gets people going and excited.
We've invited you on tonight as our guest selector. We let you loose on the BBC Introducing Uploader. You've picked your 3 favourite tracks. So let's get into your first one then, from Hold a Sec. So what did you love about this?
Yeah, Hold a Sec. I really like that one purely because it's just quite weird, and I'm attracted just to weird strangeness. Kind of saying earlier about all these different influences that are getting pulled in at the minute for everyone, and it's like anything that, I mean, I'm as guilty of it as anyone, but everyone's on about kind of like algorithms on Spotify, and you've got to be really interesting from like the word go. But that song held me the whole way through, whereas often I'm quite guilty of like 10 seconds in, it's like, nah, next one, not really feeling it. Yeah, it's just, yeah, anyone doing something interesting and weird. I mean, because I've grown up, like my sort of favourite band ever is probably like Queens of the Stone Age, and they still manage to make the weirdest noises coming out of guitars, which shouldn't be possible. So yeah, anyone that can push things forward sonically, I'm so for.
Yeah, love that. We are such a big fan of as well. This is Hold a Sec on your radio with At 20. As selected by Woody from Bastille, our guest selector on BBC Introducing in Kent tonight. A very good selection. We're off to a good start. Your second choice then, please.
Second choice is In Waves with their song Push. And the reason I've chosen Push by In Waves is because, again, I'm a very simple creature. I love horrible distorted sounds, and your bands like Death from Above 1979 and Royal Blood, and yeah, anything distorted and riffy is so far up my street. It's unbelievable, and I think, yeah, these guys do it really, really well. And I think that sort of thing, well, from, again, doing all these kind of writing sessions recently, like a lot of references coming in are kind of quite punky, quite grungy at the minute, so I feel like there's a new wave of that coming. I really hope, because that will make me really happy. Yeah,
me too. It definitely feels like something is building. It's super exciting. Let's get this on then. This is In Waves and Push. The brilliant Florence Arman with Friends, as selected by Woody from Bastille. So that's your third and final selection. What drew you to that one?
So yeah, that song drew me in mainly because I think I would get on with them, or her. I don't know if it's a team or just her by herself, but just in terms of how they make music and put it together, it's a really well constructed pop song. And the amount of arguments I have sometimes with people about no, we don't need this 16-bar random health chord. It's doing nothing. It's just, yeah, it's really well put together, concise, keeps changing, keeps you interested. It's just how a modern pop song should be. So
yeah.
For anyone listening making music, every bar should have a purpose. If not, get it in the bin. Yeah, I'm sort of known as the kind of sledgehammer a little bit in the studio. It's like, no, that's crap. Get gone. Don't need it.
Really? Okay, so you could, you work people hard. With that in mind, what would be your advice to somebody, just getting into songwriting, just getting into production, maybe just starting to kind of form their identity as an artist? What should they bear in mind?
I'm actually quite new to it, believe it or not. So, I mean, with Bastille, like Dan's the main creative with us, and then obviously I've kind of learned a lot being around him and other people as well. But yeah, I've sort of dove into it with Matt like the last 2.5 years, and so I'm relatively new to it as well. I'd say there's like so many formulas you can fall into, but rules are always there to be broken at the same time. But I think if at any point something isn't changing or new or interesting, then you've changed it. Like I think the worst thing you could do is just to kind of copy and paste, say, your first verse melody and your second verse melody. Then it needs to go somewhere. It needs to be a bit more of a journey, and I mean that can apply to like any genre pretty much. So there should be some sort of development. And something Dan always said as well: you can always write a better song. You can always improve a song. I know, chatting to the Nothing But Thieves boys, they sort of work in like they'll often write 3 different verse ideas for the same song, and kind of like have a shootout almost, like which was better, or maybe like take, I don't know, the first half of option A, the second half of option B, and maybe change it around on the second. Yeah, you just need to always keep the listener engaged. And I think if you listen to even like kind of like more sort of classic songs as well, like from like years gone by, they seem to follow that sort of formula as well. There's like everything's got a reason and a purpose. So even though it might feel nice to, like, if you're like a really good singer, which I'm not, to kind of go off on a big sort of warbly journey for like an extra 4 bars, it feels nice, but just get to the point, man. And also, as musicians, and I'm so guilty of this, you can get so drawn into like the absolute minutiae of like, oh, is that frequency on that snare drum quite right? Is that the reverb? Your average listener and punter doesn't care. They just want a catchy melody and words they can either relate to or sing along to. That is 95% of your listenership. You don't need to impress your producer mates.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, isn't it? I think sometimes when you're in music, you look at every single little detail and it's like, just relax. Yeah. It's fine. If it's a good song, people will hear it and people will connect with it. And your songs, obviously, in Bastille have connected with people all over the world. You've done some huge shows now. What would be your advice on playing live? Because I think there's so many new artists and new bands and stuff that have formed over the last couple of years, and obviously a lot of them haven't even done shows yet. So yeah, what would you say to them?
It's really apparent at the minute, kind of watching that, and I really feel for them. Well, it's kind of, I'd always try and look at the glass half full. Essentially, everyone's had 2 years to kind of get their act together and get their songs together. So it's not like they say I had 1 or 2 things, started playing, and then they're playing catch up. Like a lot of people have got like a little catalogue behind them now. You just got to do it as much as possible. Like the early Bastille shows would have sounded rubbish. I've seen some old videos, and like, it's the more you do it, the more muscle memory kicks in, the more confident you'll become, and especially like as musicians, when you aren't thinking about the part and you're thinking more about the performance, that's when it really sort of turns a corner. So when we do new songs for the first time, I'm sometimes thinking, okay, right, second verse like drops 2 bars there, middle 8 comes after this, and you're thinking about the arrangement and must stop here. Once that's fully ingrained, then you can start to perform the song rather than just play the song, if that makes sense. Then you can engage with the crowd more. And like my Dan's really good at that, but he was a very, very nervous frontman initially, but kind of grew into it just through doing it a lot. Basically, you just can't gig too much.
I got to see you guys a couple of times this year and this summer. Getting to see you play the 100 final was so fun, just seeing you take over a cricket ground. That was absolutely amazing. And then main stage at Reading, getting to come on and introduce you guys, and the crowd was literally looked like it was to the end of the world. I mean, that must have been a highlight for you.
Yeah, that's easily in my top 5 gigs ever, that Reading one. Been told by a couple of people that was the biggest crowd of the weekend as well, and it felt like it was just, it's not... It's when you can see a crowd jumping up and down, but you can see the delay in the speed of sound reaching them. So they're kind of like jumping in a wave. It's one of the most surreal things you can ever see. But yeah, well, I mean, we're really proud of this album and this tour, and just everyone was just like everyone, like in the band, on the crew, backing musicians, everyone was just on it that day, and it all clicked really well. And yeah, I'm glad you saw it.
Yeah, it was just, absolutely amazing. Definite highlight for this year, for sure. Looking forward to the tour next year as well. And Woody, thank you so much for hanging out on the show tonight.
Thanks for having me.